If you were to ask me to make a list of my top 5 favorite Nintendo franchises, it would look something like this. Now, if you ask me for my top 6, it would look like this. We're talking about the last game series today. So last year, I came to a shocking realization. I've never played Star Fox Adventures before, which is kind of a sin for me for the guy who plays a bunch of old Nintendo games, and especially controversial ones, see if I actually like them. So, why haven't I played this yet? I'm a huge Star Fox fan. And so play it I did. And you know what? I actually liked the game. I liked it so much in fact that I decided that, hey, I should replay the entire franchise from start to finish right now. So I played SNES, Star Fox 2, 64, 3D, Assault, and that's it. I'm gonna tell you a little secret right now, okay? I've never played Star Fox Zero or Star Fox Guard, and I hated Star Fox Command. I hated that game so much on my first playthrough, and by playthrough I mean, getting all the endings, that I was so bitter by the actual reveal of Star Fox Zero, a game I was excited for a year prior when we just saw blurry images of Miyamoto saying, we're making it. And seeing this game and how it's a retelling of 64, I thought this was because of Command, and I hated Command so much for causing Zero to be a retread that I didn't buy the game and was actively a hater on the game. I don't even know why. I mean, it's so childish, which I was a child, but still, the fact that I hated this game that much that it made me hate a game I was excited for from the original concept of it, it's so dumb to me now in retrospective, but I hate it that much. So I figure with the reveal of Fox being in the Mario Galaxy movie, and those rumors of a Star Fox game in development for the Switch too, I figured I might as well finally go replay Command to see if I actually like it now, 12 years removed from my original playthrough, and just seeing if my opinions have changed. And I might as well go pick up Zero and Guard to see if those games are actually as bad as people say they are. I even went out of my way to pick up used copies of these 3 games on actual hardware to have a more genuine and pure experience as opposed to playing them on an emulator.
Good luck.
So now that I've actually played Star Fox Command, we'll replay Star Fox Command, you're probably wondering, have my thoughts on the game actually changed over these 10 years? Yes, greatly so, but before we talk about that, let's talk about why I hated this game. So there are 2 main reasons why I really despise this game. The story, and the controls, which you'll hear those 2 complaints a lot from people talking about this game in general discussion, but I was among the crowd that hated both of them. I hated the controls because I could never really get a good grasp of the game or how to do proper commands for, doing a barrel roll, for example, was always a frustrating task, and I hated the story because it was designed to be this grand finale of the Star Fox franchise, at least the main storyline, and all the endings were dog shit and left me feeling empty inside for it. So both these 2 traits combined together, and the fact that I made myself have to replay it to get every single ending, just made me so drained and frustrated on the game as an experience originally when I played it. But now in retrospect, just sitting here after the replay, I kind of have to scratch my head at myself and realize that, God, I was kind of a dumbass. I want to debunk some of the big complaints about this game that both I had as a kid and that the general fans have as a whole for this game. And I apologize in advance because there'd be a lot more rambling in this one as compared to my last video, which did have a lot of rambling but was more scripted. The first complaint I want to address are the controls. No, they don't suck, they just suck to play on an emulator. Which emulation is the way I know most people who play this game was. That's how I played it originally, that's how most of my friends did. It just sucks to play a DS game with a full touchscreen control on a keyboard and mouse. You need a tablet for it, and most people don't use that when emulating games. They just use the mouse and keyboard for DS ones, and of course, it feels terrible. When playing on actual hardware, it feels so much better. You can actually pull off the moves a lot more easily, it's very responsive. Yeah, it can be difficult to pull off a barrel roll, but if you're hard pressing the screen and trying to force your taps onto it, which people have found out in retrospect doesn't work on the DS. Big surprise about that one, right? A lot of these older DS games that you can see reviews of, people just don't know how a touchscreen works, but they do nowadays. So it's unfairly reviewed in that past when people look at it because when they were using the touchscreen controls, they were doing it wrong than they are nowadays. So I would say replay the game right now with if you're going to, that is, with an emulator with a tablet support for it, or with an actual hardware. I promise you it'll feel different and it'll change your mind on the game. A complaint that I hear a lot about the game as well, that I personally didn't have when I first played it and still don't have now, is that the game is super repetitive and boring to play because of it. I disagree with this kind of greatly. Well, yes, the game could use some more variety in its mission structure. The game's kind of designed to just be played in like short sittings, because the playthrough is only like an hour long, or an hour to 2 hours long, depending on, even somewhere like 30 minutes long, is that you just play for like short sittings, you do these like sort of smaller missions back to back, and then you get the ending you want. And if you don't like it, or you found a route that you like instead for it, you go try out that route. And it's designed to be a short, replayable game that you finish whenever you want to finish. You get the ending you want, and if that's the one you want, and you're done with the game, you're done with the game. That's a valid ending. It's the reason why the developer said that all endings are real endings. Granted, there's a design flaw about this, because they still do want you to find other endings to potentially go and find them, you know, in case you're playing through and think, oh, this one's interesting. But some endings, a lot of them actually, require the context that other endings provide to add to some endings, like the Fox and Crystal ending. You wouldn't know that Dash is related to Andros unless you did Dash's route. It requires that context to go into it. So that ending feels a bit less complete. So there is a design flaw there for it, but those endings, I think only like half more like that now that I think about it. So there's another half of endings that don't have that issue. Still, that's that's besides the point. The main point is that the game is designed to be played in short bursts to get an ending you want, and if you want to stop there, you're fine to do so. There is a design flaw though that I just mentioned for it, and it could use some more creative levels.
Watch out!
But for the most part, it's just kind of a non-issue. It's like a very small one at the end of the day. So these next two complaints are by far the biggest ones you'll see for this game, and was the biggest one that I had for it. That being the characterization of certain characters, mainly Fox and Crystal, and the story itself. We'll tackle the issue of the characterization first. So the big issue with the characterization in this game is that no one really acts like themselves, especially Fox and Crystal. They're either super flanderized or they're acting in ways you wouldn't expect. However, the only example that seems to hold any water people give is just Fox and Crystal, which, to be fair, they do act pretty out of character when talking with each other and not really anybody else. Yes, I agree the way the team split up is stupid, but it isn't too out of character. It's just more so exaggerated for the drama's sake of the plot. But besides that, everyone else kinda acts in character unless you're doing their specific bad ending, like Falco's for example, where the game tells you you're doing a wrong decision. It's weird. I do get it, because the way Fox and Crystal act with each other is pretty dumb, but it gets resolved pretty easily, and their dialogue together is pretty short. The only one bad one is the one we talk about Andros together, and that's like it. Besides that, everyone acts the same. They are a bit snappier and a bit more one-note than usual, but it's a shorter game with less dialogue focus, since like Star Fox Assault being the previous entry. So characters need to have more snappier dialogue. It's also a game that has many replays. You're supposed to replay the game a lot. And that characters will take the role of other characters during certain routes in the game. So they need to have transferable dialogue, stuff like that, but still fit the character, like in their characterization. So they're a bit more snappier in one note. This is kind of a non-issue for me, besides Fox and Crystal, for the most part. Everything else is, like, fine. I don't really see the super big problem about it. So I wish it was better. Sure, I would have loved to see everyone be super in character for it, but it doesn't fit the game that this is trying to be. And I don't think that's a bad thing per se. Alright, let's talk about the story now. This is the real divisive part about this game, the biggest one, and by far the biggest complaint I had 10 years ago. Like I said earlier, I agree that the way they split the team is stupid, and focusing on drama for that sake is stupid. I think that the multiple endings are stupid as well. But I don't really hate the game for doing any of this. I get what it's trying to do with its design philosophy, I just disagree with it. And I also don't think the story as a whole is bad. It's sure, it's overhyped up for drama for no reason, but it is a story about people coming together to settle their differences, to be one united front and move on together in some way in life, which it's what it's trying to do story-wise, and most of the endings give you that. The real problem is the endings themselves. Star Fox Command has 9 endings. 3 of them can be called good endings, with one actually having a good route leading up to it, and 6 of them can be classified as bad or underwhelming or joke endings. Now, it's not a bad thing to have these joke or bad endings, or have more bad than good to emphasize trying to get a good ending, but a game that's trying to be the finale of the franchise, at least the main story for the main timeline, and having so many bad endings in it is kind of ridiculous, especially when they want all endings to be seen as final endings or the real true endings in their own quotations about the game. It's a bit baffling of a decision to make, I will agree. However, I do feel that complaint is a bit overhated for it. Let me explain for it. So yes, I agree having more bad endings than good is stupid, but the game itself kind of punishes you for going for these endings or have ways to course correct with those bad endings to get to any of the 3 good endings themselves. Like the main one of Fox and Crystal, that ending for example, that is seen as mainly the best ending in the game. It has the most ways you can get back into the ending. It has a very rewarding route to get there. It feels very satisfying and fulfilling, and the ending itself is very good. It leads to a great finale that can also lead into more entries in the series. The other endings are also pretty good, good endings overall, and the bad endings themselves, half of them are joke endings as well, and the game will tell you, hey, this is a dumb idea, why are you doing this, like with the Falco ending, for example, and you can course correct at any time during it. If you stick with it, it's your own fault for doing that. It's a bit overblown of a complaint, because a lot of these are purposely bad to see, okay, let's see where we're going to go here, and then there's actual good endings, and there's ways to easy course correct. I do agree that the first ending in the game shouldn't have been a dog shit bad ending to make you want to get more. Instead of making me want to find more endings, I feel unsatisfied and not wanting to play the game again. Which, that's what a lot of people I know personally felt about it. That's how I felt about when I first played it, but I powered on through anyway, which, again, made me hate it more. Which I feel a lot of people had the exact same feeling for as well. I feel the placement of the endings for the first neutral one, it was a dumb idea. They should have gave you a good ending first and then gave you a better ending in the actual overall rest of the game itself. But I don't think them having bad and joke endings is a bad thing. Come on, the F-Zero ending is fucking funny, dog. Though this does lead into another issue about the game that I kind of alluded to during this, is that, yeah, they see this game as a finale for the franchise, but if you look at many of the game's developer interviews, they keep changing on if this is a finale, how they would do other games being sequels or prequels or midquels during this game somehow. They keep changing their answer every single time. It's like they couldn't commit to this being a finale during development and were unsure even after the game came out. They wanted you to take it seriously, but at the same time, they had so many bad endings and joke endings for it. Only a few good ones, and no proper conclusion for the series is gonna go next. But even some developers saying that none of the endings they see as canon anymore, or it's up to Nintendo, so even they don't know this game's placement canonicity wise, or if it's a good finale, with them keep changing their how they feel of the game, which just does lead into some Star Fox, I guess, command defenders saying that, oh, this story doesn't matter because they're all joke endings, the whole thing is funny, look at that, Falco got depressed for being a jackass the whole game. That's funny, guys! Which, I agree that's funny, or Slippy leaving to go with Amanda, the first mission is fucking funny, and everyone else fights off the mission and the whole judge without him. Stuff like that is funny, but like they said before interviews, this is a serious game. They're taking it seriously and want it to be an ending. Defending the game with the lie that everything is designed to be a joke is a dumb defense. That is actual criticism of it having too many bad and joke endings, no direction for how they want to be an actual ending, and only one real good one for a true proper finale. Because the other two good endings, in my opinion, don't serve as good finales. They're good endings to this game, but not as for Star Fox as a series. I think Goodbye Fox as an ending sucks ass. Listen. Everyone likes it. I don't like it. But yeah, there's only one real good conclusive ending for the game, and as Star Fox as a whole. And it leads into a sequel. It wants a sequel. It's weird. The developers themselves didn't know what they wanted to do with the game story-wise until even after development, and then fans defended saying that, oh, they meant it to be a joke and it doesn't matter, when we know that that's not the case at all. It's a dumb defense, and a big issue with the game itself from the developers is that they don't know how to take this game seriously, canonicity-wise or not, or what they were doing with it. I kind of rambled there for a bit. The main point is, it's not a bad thing to have these multiple endings, it's just that it's bad that only one of them is a proper, conclusive, finite cap on the franchise, in a good way that leads up to the ending well, while the other two good endings are just fine, good endings for this game. And it's not a good idea to overflow this game with a bunch of bad and joke endings, but make them be the bigger amount than the actual good ones themselves. And it's not a good idea to defend the game by saying it doesn't matter because they're all jokes, when we know that's not true. But it's also not a good thing that this game itself wanted to be a finale and then couldn't commit to it even post-release, and they don't know if it is or not. It's all this mixed, hard to put together mess of a story and like putting it together. At the end of the day, I think it's fine. I think it's a fine plot if you do at least one of the good endings, especially do Fox and Crystal. But it's not a bad thing that it has all these joke and bad endings. It's just that there's too many of them, and you shouldn't defend that and call it all a joke and misconstrue the words of the developers themselves. But now let's talk about probably my biggest complaint about the game that I've never seen anyone mention in discussion about it. The fact that it's trying to be a finale as is. Now, that's not a bad idea to make it a grand finale, but doing it in the way they do with all these multiple endings kind of was just a design flaw overall, especially when they just didn't know what they wanted to do with it for each ending. What they should have done is made it one linear game, because this is essentially a strategy shoot-'em-up game. There's a big emphasis on that. But you only get to feel a lot of the super strategy moments until you do replay after replay. What they should have done is make it one linear game where you explore every single planet and add some more to the game as well, and then reach an ending to it, a finite one set ending. This would have been a better idea and probably would have fit with the game's themes a bit more, because then you're recruiting everyone. You'd have Star Wolf, you'd have Amanda, you'd have Dash, you'd have Bill, you'd have Star Fox team coming together. You'd have all of that as one big army, and they could have their own personal stories, side missions, a la Paralogs from Fire Emblem. I can't fucking escape Fire Emblem! But you can do all this cool stuff with the characters that way and have more unique ships. You can make Fox's ship having power-ups per certain routes make more sense by making just everyone gets power-ups as the story progresses for their ships, and not just have it at the end of a route like they did for Fox and previous ones in this game. And if they wanted to have unique endings, well, great, you have these side stories. Let's say you go to Venom on one of the missions, and there's a side route, and you're like, oh, what's this way? And you recruit Dash this way, and congratulations, Dash is now part of your team. And if you have Dash at the ending of the game, well, great, he gets to have his own special ending that's given you in Fire Emblem when the game ends and it tells you what the characters do after the story, but give them all just endings, and you can get a best ending by recruiting every person in the game. That would be a better ending in my opinion, and a better game overall, because it would have one linear structure. It would encourage you to have to do more unique missions, and that way you can see all of the unique bosses in one playthrough. You can encourage the designers to have more strategy moments in the game. The upgrades can make more sense. You have more of the party members in the entire game. It fit the whole theme of it. You'd have to have less snappy dialogue so characters can talk a bit more and be more of their true selves, so you don't have the potential issue of the mischaracterization that some people feel about the game. You wouldn't have all these issues. Now, I don't think, again, that Command's a bad game at all, but they could have avoided all these complaints or potential complaints if they just made it one linear experience with side objectives and just really dug into this a strategy game and not a choose your own adventure strategy-esque game. I feel like if they had went with this direction for the game and then focus it on being a finale, this would make a lot more sense, because now the whole entire Star Fox characters, all of them come together to one common goal and fight them off together in this one big game where you explore all the light system or go to other parts of it too, like Saria. It would have been a better, more conclusive farewell for the main story in the franchise, and then whatever comes next, you'd be either a reboot or a sequel years later with Fox's kid or whatever. That could have been a better setup with this game being an actual proper finale, you know? This would have been a better finale this way than we have in actual Star Fox Command. Or it could have just not been a finale at all. Generally, it just also couldn't have been that. It didn't have to be as well. Now, don't get my words twisted here. I know I just went through some long tangent about the story, an incomprehensible tangent, I should say, and another tangent on what the game should have been. But at the end of the day, I still do really like Star Fox Command. I think it's a great game. It is overly hated, and I'm very glad that I replayed it and changed my mind on it. It's just that I'm allowed to be disappointed in what the project ended up being as like a final product than what it could have been. But I'd rather be disappointed in a game that I still really like and I'm glad that I played than continue to hate on a game that I know I would probably like if I gave it a second chance, but just won't do out of blind hatred. And if you originally hated Command as well, like I said earlier, you should like replay it on actual hardware, of course, or an emulator that has like a touchpad compatibility that you can actually utilize that way. But play Command either original hardware or with an actual good emulator with touchscreen capabilities, and try it out for yourself. I don't care if it's your first playthrough that you haven't played it because of people on the internet saying it's bad, or if it's like your second or seventh one because you just couldn't get into the game, please replay it one more time and see if you like it, or play it for the first time and see if you like it. I promise if you take some of my advice to heart here, my criticisms to heart for the game, and if you play it on actual hardware or in a proper way, you'll like it. I think you will like it genuinely. Or not, I can't promise that you like it, maybe you won't like it, but I think you will. I think you really like the game, actually. Just like how I really like seeing Star Fox in a movie, which made me want to buy a Wii U game. We get to talk about Star Fox Zero now! So as stated earlier, I hated Command. I hated it so much that I let it impact my opinion on the just revealed Star Fox Zero and what the game would be like. I didn't buy it because I saw that being reimagining and thought, oh, they're out of ideas and Command killed the franchise because of its negative reception from fans, its low sales, and the fact of its endings being in this weird cannot-see limbo. And they just threw out the window to do a reboot, to just easily make a new Star Fox game that way. This isn't true at all. We know from interviews and some from leaks that there was a rumored Star Fox game in 2008 that was being developed for the Wii that seemed to be a sequel to Command. We know as well that Zero was built on the foundations, at least its control scheme was, of the cancelled Wii game, and that Miyamoto was toying with this and started development around late 2013 to early 2014 as a tech demo to show at E3, with even some people in the audience referring to the game as a primitive HD version of the original Star Fox. But now that they got this entire control scheme done, and it seemed people were interested at E3, all they needed to do now was get a development team for it. Because they didn't have any at all. This kind of happened around, I think, September, probably maybe like later June. Sometime after E3 2014 is when they found their development team with Platinum Games after release of Bayonetta 2. This was because, well, as Miyamoto said, they're good at making these huge action games, but the second reason is probably because of the whole Star Fox mission within Bayonetta 2, so they probably figured these are also Star Fox fans, so it worked well together. And now they had the development team and the concept done and the game being announced as a concept, all they had to do was develop it for a 2015 release. Less than a year away. Let's go, baby! Yeah, this decision greatly impacted the game's development. Not only did they have to make a game in time for next year, they had to make it pretty quickly, of course. They had to make it get like a new audience in and bring back the old audience. Work around this whole new control scheme they have for it, and hopefully sell well. So naturally, the best course of action to take was to make it a reimagining of 64. That way they don't have to worry about new planets, what to do with the story, anything else like that. They can use the same old characters that old fans and new fans would know, and it would be easy to build this game around the control scheme. All I have to worry about now is just how to incorporate the new controls into it while reimagining stuff from 64. It was even said in an interview that Miyamoto stated that the main reason why they had it be a reimagining is because of the new control scheme, because they wanted to fit around that. And of course other factors went into it too. But no, they didn't just make it a reboot because of Command. Granted, I believe Command was a part of this, because if it sold better, we probably would have gotten more funding and more research development into a Star Fox Wii game, or at least other spin-off games as well. But we didn't get any of that. So Command does play a tiny factor into it, but like the main reason is because of the new control scheme. Something I see about this game that's related to this topic at hand is that people try to call Zero like a soulless rehash, that they were out of ideas, like I said earlier. But you can clearly see from interviews and the marketing and the game itself how much these developers love Star Fox. Miyamoto would not fucking shut about how much he loves Star Fox and the rail shooter genre as a whole. with him hoping this game would help revitalize that kind of genre of games. And the developers, again with Platinum Games, look at the fucking Star Fox mission in Bayonetta 2. These guys love Star Fox. Look at all the Easter eggs they put into the game itself throughout the entirety of the franchise, for even referencing Star Fox Adventures inside of it too, within their special anime prologue. Look at the anime prologue as well for the game. They had such high hopes this game saving the Wii U with their passion for Star Fox alone. I cannot call this game soulless at all. There's just so much love put into the game itself. Anyway, now that I have that out of the way, do I like Star Fox Zero now that I finally played it, and played it from a fresh perspective of no hatred in mind from Star Fox Command now that I like Command now? What do I think of Zero? I think it's actually kind of awesome. Please hear me out. I swear I'll tell you why. Before I say anything, I just want to start by saying that when I was talking to my stupid, idiot, dumbass, jackass friend, who I'll now be referring to as friend Jeremy for the rest of this video, about me buying Star Fox Zero, he called me a man at his lowest. I just wanted to share that right off the bat. Now let me get this out of the way first. The controls of Zero will make or break this game for you, but not in the way that you think. So, with Star Fox Zero, it's technically like a third-person rail shooter like a regular Star Fox game, but you have the option to play it in first-person via the Wii U gamepad. You point up to the screen ahead of you, and you can use it for more precise motion control aiming. This, in concept, is pretty cool. In execution, it sucks ass. Having to swap between the screens both up and down consistently hurts your neck and makes your arms super tired and just isn't fun to play with. Which is why you don't play it that way. So, when you play Star Fox Zero, press the minus button on the gamepad because it will then swap which screen is the active one for which one is third person and which one is going to be first person. You can do it without having to swap screens themselves. Play Zero this way. Zero is not a third-person shooter with a first-person mode to adjust your aiming. No, it is a first-person shooter, rail shooter, that has the option to swap to third person for a second to adjust your flying. Playing the game with this mindset of it being a first-person game and just swapping the screens a lot to first-person to third-person and only using the third-person menu to just adjust your flying is a game changer. It makes the game so much more fun and will not hurt your neck or arms for it. There are still moments where you will have to look at both screens at once to adjust your flying, but that happens in very few, very rare instances, and in a lot of the cases can be avoided. And when you play it like this, the gamepad essentially becomes like a rear view mirror for you in a car. Think of it that way when playing with it, and it'll feel a lot better for you and make you have a lot more comfortable of an experience. Trust me on this one. Go play Corneria, play it entirely in first person, only use third person when trying to adjust your flying position, and only use the gamepad for a rear view mirror when you're in this mode for it. You will have a change opinion on the game, I swear to you. I will note, the game never tells you about the screen swapping, at least to my knowledge. I found it on accident. I was trying to press the pause button at the start of the game to change the controls from inverted to non-inverted, and pressed minus on accident, and I was like, what the fuck, I can do this? So that's a design flaw. It's really stupid because the game should be played in this first person way. It is very much designed to be played this way first and foremost, but it gives you the worst control scheme imaginable to play first. I will agree that the main control scheme sucks ass, but playing it with this way is so much better, and it makes the game incredibly fun to play this way. Please try it out this way. I do agree that the controls are a problem for the main one, but using these, I guess, revised controls that aren't some kind of modification, it's how the game is intended to be played, at least if you ask me, because the missions are designed, you will have a better time, I swear to you. Though, if you do play it this way and still don't vibe with it, that's okay. Gyro is not for everybody, and this is a very unconventional Star Fox control scheme that not everybody can get behind. Just like how not everyone can get behind the fact that Zero does in fact carve its own identity outside of it being reimagined 64. Before I played Zero, I heard everyone mention how the best moments of Zero are just rehashed from 64, and in some cases are just straight up worse. And to that I have to say, buddy, did we play the same exact game? I mean, we're playing different games here. Yes, it has its similarities to 64, but a lot of its moments are so different. I agree, some of the best ones in 64 are the Star Wolf fights, and it's the same case for Zero here. But these fights are not the same at all, and in many cases are in different planets or different areas for it. You gonna tell me the big Star Wolf fight in space against the Space Armada for it that then has Wolf surprise attack and take down Peppy if you're too slow is the same as fighting Star Wolf on Finchina for the bomb? Or like fighting the 1v1 when you track down Wolf and you have like this souped up fight against him, just Fox and Wolf together is the same as the fight at 64 with fighting the whole team for it? Or fighting them on Venom in a planetary teleporter, 1v4 with these suit-up machine special attacks. These are not the same fights for it. If you think that's the same thing, then buddy, stop praising Assault then. One of Assault's best moments is infiltrating Wolf's base and taking down Star Wolf that way. I'm sorry, that's too similar to 64 because the fight with Star Wolf in a space battle. They're the same, they can't be the same. Oh no, they're too similar, they're not good anymore for it. You can't have this double standard with 64 and 0 and not have with Assault then. It's ridiculous. And besides the shared stuff with Star Wolf being in the game, what about like its own identity in its way? Like what about when you're hyper jumping to Venom? That doesn't happen in 64 in that way. It's so fucking cool what happens in 0. You're just max G diffuser speeding through it with quick time moments of having to pull up for the ship. That shit's awesome and unique to 0. Or what about when you're playing as Peppy just by himself, taking on one huge fleet, and every time he barrel rolls, he says fucking barrel roll. That's one of the best ones in Star Fox history, and it's in 0. It's in part its DNA and identity of itself.
Hello.
Sure, it does have shared moments with 64, like one-to-one, totally. Like when you enter into Corneria, or like when you're going to Zonus having to avoid the searchlights, or the corridor you have to get to inside of Venom to reach Andros. But the difference is its execution. Like with Zonus, for example, in Theater 64, the only reason why you're avoiding the spotlight is to avoid some enemies showing up and to keep you on the hard route of the game. In 0, it's now a stealth mission. You're controlling a new ship, the Gyro-Wing, trying to avoid being overwhelmed by enemies and losing the mission for it. You have to be stealthy. It's a different mission entirely for it. Or like when you're at the end of the Hyperjump to Venom, the boss you find there isn't some brand new super one that you wouldn't see before. No, it's the guy from 64's hard route, but now he's the all-range attack boss, and he has new attack patterns, and he's at the end of the game. He's now a worthy end game boss for it, and it's super fun. It's a great subversion of expectations. Then it uses C4 to make that expectation get subverted. It's cool. 0 has its similarities to 64, of course, but it makes its own path for itself, and the way it reimagines stuff in 64 into 0 is very unique and cool, and people don't praise it enough for that. I think that's a big shame about the game. Just like how it's a real shame that no one ever compliments the game's audio design. Dude, 0's audio design is so fucking good, to the noise the ship make when they're flying around, to the gun noises, to the blasters, to the explosions, the bombs. Everything about it just sounds so good. It makes the dogfights come alive and feel the most epic they've ever been, which they are. These are the best dogfights in the series. The way the camera zooms in and like the slow-mo happens when you're fighting Star Wolf, you get too close and they start like insulting the player.
Too easy.
The way the hits you take then just feel so good, or how they have special attacks for it. It's some of the best in the franchise, and then when the series goes forward, they need to look at 0 for how to handle dogfights and audio design. Like genuinely, it's the best in the franchise. Now, I've done nothing but praise 0 up until this point. Something friend Jeremy will not fucking like, dude. Trust me on that one. But just like friend Jeremy, Star Fox 0 isn't perfect, and I want to talk about that. Like, as much as I think that this game improves upon the audio design and, like, the whole dogfight of the game, and I think the controls work very well and very unique, this game doesn't really evolve any of the mechanics in Star Fox, and in some cases it regresses them. Like the teammates, for example. In 64, they all had their own unique purpose and they would help out in combat, and you want to keep them alive because you need them to get secret routes within the missions for it to get the best ending in the game and see every single level. In Assault, you'd want them alive because they give you little bonuses for the mission to help them out, like they would attack for you, give you upgrades, and they need them for like points for the score in the game to unlock shit for the multiplayer. They had their purpose and were useful, and of course Slippy in every single one of these games, including 0, sees the health for you. He will tell you the health bar of the enemy. Zero, for the most part, doesn't have a proper split route system akin to Star Fox 64. It's more like Assault being one big linear game, which having multiple different routes after you beat the game to go find, and as one-off little missions. So you're not keeping the teammates alive to find alternate routes because you don't use them for that. They don't give you upgrades like in Assault, they don't help you out for combat. They're just there for dialogue's sake, but they don't really offer a lot of lore dialogue or characterization stuff. It's more so just snappy lines and references to 64. They don't really do anything else besides that story-wise, so it kind of baffles me, because also upgrades and health bars don't carry over to missions. So if they're not helping in combat at all, if they're not giving you a score bonus as well, and there's no score unlockables, if they're not giving you bonuses or anything else, the dialogue isn't worthwhile, what's the point of having the teammates outside of Slippy? And surprisingly enough, Cat. If you help Cat in missions, she will give you rewards back. So it's weird that those are the two characters you want to keep alive, and one appears for 2 missions, technically 3, and she leaves immediately, and one is Slippy. So it's this weird trait of they could have expanded this further but didn't. Or just expanded it at all instead of regressing it as a concept. In this game, teammates are kind of just there to be there for tradition's sake. They serve no purpose. Kind of like how the routes in this game also serve no purpose. It's weird that almost every single route split in the game you can't get to until you do a level replay. And none of them lead fully to it's not like 64 where every single route was a set path to find the true ending to Andros. You're just following which route to the easy to the hard route. In this game, it's more like there's the one route and you can either do this planet or this planet depending on what you do in this mission. And that's your one route split. And you find other bonus levels when you return to missions using the teleporters. They make teleporters a big story plot point, but it doesn't really do anything at the end of the day. It's just there to give you a reason as to why you're returning to missions to go to other routes. But it acts like those missions are the first time you had that split. It's oh, you're in Cornelia, you went right the whole time to go to the teleporter. It felt like what they should have done is, let's say you're on Finchina, and then you fought the boss there, then bam, there's a teleport at the end of it, and now you're back in a remixed version of Cornelia during a new Andros fleet attack, and you're doing a harder version of the first part of Cornelia, and then you go to the route split, and now you're in the second half of it, and that leads to new routes, stuff like that. Or let's say Star Wolf is heading somewhere, and Peppy's hey man, get back here, we need your help right now, Star Fox, I'm sorry, and you had to return to different planets. I feel like the game wanted to do that, but they didn't because of time constraints. So they're just make it a teleport. You return there, it's teleports up, who cares? It's part of the story, it doesn't matter that much. That's a complaint of mine, is that the routes as a concept don't really do much like the teammates themselves. My biggest complaint about the game itself, though, is the fact that for being a reimagining 64, it's missing a lot of its planets, and it's very short of a game even for Star Fox standards. Where did Solar go? Or Cantina? Or Macbeth? They forgot about Macbeth! What the fuck, dude? When I found that out, I started doing donuts in a Walmart parking lot while drinking straight vodka so I could forget the feeling they got rid of Macbeth, dude. Fuck, man! This also kind of leads to my previous complaint about the awkward split routes and the teleporters, because you could have made these go to areas like Solar or something, or Macbeth, dude. Why is it gone, dude? Where'd it go? It's just gone. It's not in the whole alliance system. It's just missing in the game. What the hell? Where'd it go? But they could have made those teleporters and split routes go to these planets. It would have been something interesting, but they just didn't do it. The only complaint that I have left, I think, is the fact that the game is kind of a little too easy in the most part. For the most part, there isn't a difficulty slider outside of unlocking the black R-Wing for getting every single medal in the game, or by having the Falco amiibo. So for the most part, the game is not very difficult, although it could be because of me. I'm just good at Java controls and Star Fox games, but I've heard many people complain about the game's difficulty itself being too hard, so that might just be a me issue. Another complaint, I guess, is the fact that at the end of the day, I still wish it was a sequel to Command or something like it, or just if it was a reboot, to have more of the wider cast included. If this was the exact same game, levels and all, but you had Crystal on the team, and Panther, and Amanda, and other characters in the game, and a new villain too, besides Andros, I would have liked it even more than I already do. And that's just, technically speaking, just a like a visual change or like with characters. None of that was in the gameplay itself. But I would like the game even more because of that change. That's more of a wishful thinking because I know why the game is as it is. But if it could be like this, it'd be better in my opinion. I'm getting ahead of myself though. At the end of the day, this game is incredibly good. I feel like Zero is a very, very, very great game that is so overhated and underrated. And by people who haven't even played it. A vast majority of the complaints I see about the game are people who haven't even played Star Fox Zero or let alone even owned a Wii U. Which is why my final ranking for this game on the Midwest Emo scale is a hot mulligan, you'll be fine out of an American Football LP1. Now, I'm not gonna explain why that is, that's more so a thing for you to figure out, much like trying to figure out the reason behind the naming for Midwest emo bands. Oh, and before I forget, one last thing to note about Zero before we move on. I played Star Fox Guard 2. It's pretty good. I liked it. It becomes a grind now because you can't play the online stuff for the game to get the bonus levels, so I didn't do that. It's a pretty good 3 hours though, so if you have it, I mean, just play it. It's alright. Now that I have at long last finally played Zero and have replayed Command, I can safely say that in my opinion at least, the hate they get is unwarranted and overblown. While yes, they do fall into similar design pitfalls and both have slight feeling of disappointment behind them, they are worthy of the criticism they do get. The hate they get is so overblown. They are great games in their own right that are worthy of praise for it. And I'm so glad to have actually played them and replayed one of them to like reassess my opinion and see that they are great games at the end of the day. We live in an era where so many people just listen to other people's opinions on media and take it as their own, or just let that first impression of something dictate how they feel about it forever, and they won't change it, instead of experiencing things themselves or re-experiencing things to reevaluate how they feel on that thing. Star Fox Command and Zero are 20 and 10 years old respectively. If you played any of these two games within that time span of these 10 to 20 years, I ask you, please replay it. You might find something else you like about the game if you already liked it, or you might find a reason to criticize it more, or you might even find that you actually love these games but didn't realize it. Many people I know never even played Zero or Command. I didn't play Zero for the longest time, and just let other people's opinions dictate how I felt about the game itself, or let an old impression as a kid playing Command in an improper way dictate how I feel about the game itself. Media is something that we're not supposed to just consume once and then get rid of. We re-experience it, we replay, we reshape things, we let it just influence us and how we feel about it, and we reevaluate how we feel about these things over time. There's a great video by John Cartwright over at Goodbyes Gaming that he actually released this video on. During the video's development, I swear to God, I'm not stealing from it. I thought about it before it came out. It just took so long to make this. I'm sorry, I have a job. But in his video, he argues the same points I do about reevaluating games, and it's about Star Fox Command as well. So I'll link in the description to check it out because I think it's a great supplement for this video to watch after you finish this one. By the way, if you couldn't tell, this whole spiel about reevaluating our thoughts on games and media doesn't just apply to Star Fox. I'm talking about all kinds of media and games as a whole. Because of this, I challenge you not only to replay or play for the first time these two Star Fox games, and Guard if you want to, but also to look back on previous games or just media as a whole that you really skipped out on for some reason. Either you heard someone say it was bad so you didn't check it out, or you watched it once. It was like a season you watched like last week. You watched an episode of the season and you weren't feeling it right now, so you dropped it and it ruined your mood so you don't like it anymore. It could be an old game or a recent thing like that. Just try it again, because you never know what you'll find. You might actually find your new favorite thing this way, or game, or character, or media, or genre. You truly never know until you give it that second shot. This message is especially towards you, friend Jeremy. I didn't forget about you! I will say, I have one more little minor nitpick of Star Fox Zero. Despite it being a reimagining of 64, Pigma never says my favorite lines in that game of I'll do you fast, peppy old pal, and Daddy screamed real good before he died. You know, I wish he said that. That'd been awesome. Did you know? The reason why Slippy never appeared within any Star Fox Zero commercial is because there was simply never a puppet made for him for E3 2015. In this presentation, Nintendo commissioned the creator of the puppets for the Muppets to create puppets for Fox, Falco, and Peppy. They used these as sort of transformation stand-ins for Iwata, Miyamoto, and Reggie. In an interview with IGN, they asked Miyamoto about the missing Slippy puppet, which he responded, "Fuck, we forgot Slippy. Damn it, no! Fuck, dude." Did you also know that I'm single, and if you look like Tharja from Fire